Mind Gap Podcast.
Welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
And I'm Justin. And if you listen to us on Stitcher, you better find another way to listen to us.
Yeah.
It's going away.
Because Stitcher's going bye-bye. Don't know why. Also, don't care. Never really followed much with Stitcher, but our stuff was on there,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so this is more of a PSA to anyone who's still using Stitcher. Why? I guess there's a lot of podcast apps out there. Go find another one because Stitcher is going bye-bye. There.
Yeah.
You've been warned.
Might I recommend Good Pods? That's a good place to listen to podcasts. We're on there.
I would recommend YouTube myself.
YouTube,
Go
even
watch
better.
us.
If
Go
you
look
want the
at our
visual
beautiful
element.
faces.
Speaking of visual element, check out this new fucking shirt I got here. You know what it says? It says fucking Potion
because your
Seller,
phone's
baby.
Thank you, because your
Yeah.
phone's in front of it. I can't see it.
It's some
I'll
merch.
see it in playback.
It's from merch on our from our boy Austin Reno's band, Potion Seller.
Oh,
And-
nice. I saw he was promoting all that shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
I picked one up because I fucking support artists, you know, and I love them.
You do.
And you should check him out. Potion Seller. Austin Reno was on here not that long ago. He's a great musician, hilarious guy, and brother of the infamous and famous Noah Reno. So
That's right.
go check him out.
I think his next. I told him I wanted to come out and see one of his shows, and I think he said July 19th is the next show he's playing. So if you're in the Grand Rapids area, July 19th, go find out. I don't remember the venue, but go find out where Potion Seller's playing.
Yeah.
July 19th.
I like their stuff, man. They have some good songs, good vibes. I like it, man. I like what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, they like you, and that's the thing about Potion Seller is that they reciprocate the like.
They do. Yes.
Yeah. They're like reciprocators.
Gang.
That sounds like a D&D character. Like you,
The reciprocator?
you open up, a light reciprocator.
Ah.
It sounds
It
like
does.
would that be a tool or would that be a person?
It sounds like a tool.
Yeah.
I guess it could be like maybe a rank within like a church. Ah, the light reciprocator. Daryl, the light reciprocator, you know?
The
Fantasy
light
Daryl.
reciprocator of Tribor.
There you go. The
Hangs out
light
with the
reciprocates through my soul and my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gang, apologies for the week off, but we warned you in advance.
We did.
Told you it was going to happen. But it was for good reason. I made the pilgrimage to Nashville, Tennessee for the first ever Mind Gap real life get-together / retreat. Yes, it was good. It was very good. Had an absolute blast. I got to hang out in real life with some really cool people, with the likes of Noah, with the likes of Hannah, with the likes of Alpaca Lunch, if you know him from the video game stream, with Bree. You remember them from some of the video game streams. Caleb and his wife Maddie. And of course, Zinni, the almighty Zinni was there, and I got to meet Zinni in person, and it was fucking wonderful.
Actual audio clip of Doug meeting Zinni.
Absolutely. And I want to make a special shout out to Zinni. And I don't think Zinni would mind me sharing this, but Zinni this is outside of her comfort zone to go and do this. And she did a fantastic job. I was so proud of her. It sounds like I own that. I don't. I was happy for her because she made the trip down and she hung out with us. We had so much fun, and then she explored Nashville on her own. She found some crystal shops. She also did this really awesome thing where she went to a shop and got like a bunch of like little gifts and tchotchkes, and she put them in a bag, and she's like, all right, here's the game. You can choose one thing out of the bag, and you can only trade once. So reach in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Grab
Yeah.
what you want. And Natalie got to do it. Natalie got one of the really good prizes. Shit, there's like only 2 in there. Natalie got one of the good ones. And the rest were just like fun little tchotchkes, and it was really cool. So
I
shout
love
out to
that.
Zen.
We used to do that for when we had the giant family get together around Christmas time. And I think at the time, this was like where the extended family got together, and there might have been upwards of 40 or so of us there.
Wow.
And so, but everyone would bring some sort of a gift. It could be a gag gift or a real gift. And you did that. You got to pick one, and you could only trade once. And that was always, sometimes it worked out, was really fun. And there were times where people got pissed.
Yeah.
Hopefully
That's
everyone
Christmas.
had a good time.
You know, that's Christmas for you. It's not a real family Christmas unless people are pissed off at each other. So.
That's right. Hopefully everyone enjoyed themselves with that Zinni game.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's so cool. I love that she did that.
And Noah was very gracious. He hosted, a lot. The weather was absolute dog shit. Did not cooperate with us. We were going to do a lot of outside stuff, and it hadn't rained in Nashville in weeks. And then all of a sudden, it rained like almost every day we were down there. It rained, and I'm talking like just uncontrollable rain, which was unfortunate. So we made the most of it. We adapted, and Noah was kind of at the center of that. And Noah did a wonderful crab boil for us when we arrived. Nice. We rented out an awesome Airbnb townhouse where we all got together and cooked some stuff, myself included, and then hung out, played so many board games. It was such a delight to play board games. So many new ones, some that I can't wait to pick up myself and play or try to play. Captain Sonar was one of the highlights for me, where essentially you play as two rival submarine crews, and you try to sink each other, but each person has a job. So there's like the captain who's in charge of moving the ship. And then there's the radio operator who's in charge of listening to the other team to find out where they might be and mark it on the map. And then there's like the first mate who's in charge of like just managing different abilities. There's the engineer who makes sure that the sub doesn't explode. And it is just, it's chaotic but awesome because it happens in real time. It's not like, I'll take my turn. Everyone's going at the same time.
Oh, okay. That's the cast that I like. That's
and
fun.
I was the radio operator. I was the radio operator. My only job was to listen to the other team's captain. And whenever they said like north confirmed, I'm like, all right, they're going north. And I had like a map of some islands with like a glossy thing to put over it. And I was taking a marker, and I didn't know where they were, but I was tracking a path. So at some point I would try to move it around, like maybe they're here, maybe they're there. And it was so much fun. It was so cool. I want to find a way to do that on the video game stream. I haven't quite figured out the logistics, but I want to do that. It was so much fun. So
that sounds fun.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who made the trip down there. Some folks came as far as Oregon and drove from Oregon, which was like holy balls. Shout out to Caleb and Maddie for doing that. Of course, the pups got to play, Loki and Spaghetti, and Caleb's dog Mia. All got to play with each other, which was awesome. And also everyone was so great with Natalie. It's a bunch of adults basically and this one 7-year-old child. People were very kind to her. They played with her. They engaged with her. And, it was great. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. If you would have told me 8 years ago when we started this thing that I'd be making a trip down to Nashville to hang out with a bunch of people from the podcast that were fans of the podcast for several days, I would be like, go fuck yourself. There's no way that's happening. But it did, and it was awesome. And we're fucking doing it again. We're doing it again.
That's awesome. So are you saying that this was the first annual Mind Gap?
I think so. I think we're going to say it's going to be the first. It was so enjoyable. And, we're going to look to find another location. I think it's cool to move it every year. So we want to get more people in. You were missed. Seth was missed. Some other folks in the community like Emilio and his wife Clarissa were missed. And, we got some people on the West Coast that weren't able to make it. But we're going to try every year. We're going to try and do something and be inclusive. And, if you want to be part of this.
Belgium or Australia.
Yeah,
right?
I think Jared suggested either, I think it was Denmark or Australia.
Denmark? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Denmark or Australia. Would love to do either of those. I don't think that's going to happen, though. But hey, you never know. So
never say never. If we get
I'm not
a real
saying
good
not next year. Maybe in the future.
Just saying, if United wants to sponsor us,
right,
then great. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And if you are curious about what this is all about, check that description down below for the link to our Discord. Join the Discord community and hang out with us. Get to know us. And maybe in time, you may be part of the next Mind Gap gathering, wherever it may be. And we'll have
a bunch of cool people hanging out and being
Yes.
cool together.
It was awesome. It was a great time.
Yeah.
Nashville, not my town, but I was happy to go down there to hang out with all those folks. So it was good. It was a good time. I'm really glad we got to do it.
Nashville's a fun town. You and I were talking off mic. If you are a fan of bars and live music, Nashville's a very fun town to be in. You don't even have to like country music because they've got rock, they've got blues, they've got bluegrass, they've whole variety of stuff down there. But you've got to really enjoy going out to a bar to see live music. And if it's not that, it slowly starts to kind of like degrade the experience a little bit.
Yeah,
as far as the city goes,
for sure. I really enjoyed the zoo. The zoo was awesome. We were actually able to sneak that in.
What specifically about the Nashville Zoo made it a top tier zoo for you?
I'll say this much. A couple things that I found that was interesting. Number one, they had an actually really good app where it was the map of the place. And when you signed in, you got to pick a digital pet. You could choose between a red panda, a giraffe, and a tiger. And there were different spots around the zoo where you could go and collect like a digital currency. And it allows you to like purchase things for your digital pet, different enrichment things. And the idea is that like you're not going to get it all in one visit, but the more you visit, the more the digital currency you get and the more you can, I thought that was a unique way to be like engaging with folks. So I thought that was pretty cool. They had an amazing playground area for kids. Normally, like when we go to the Brookfield Zoo out by us, they just have regular old playground equipment. And I was like, can I go play in the playground? I'm like, we didn't fucking come here to play in the playground. We came here to look at animals. All right. So that's where we're spending our energy. We're not spending our energy there. But here, it was like a wooden fortress, like a castle that had like awesome, rope bridge areas that like spiraled up. And there was an insane spiral slide that was probably like 20 feet in the air. That like just went. I was like, oh my god, that's a really big one. It was just really cool play area. I was like, yeah, go play for the next 30 minutes. Go enjoy yourself because this is awesome. That's awesome. We got to pet kangaroos, which most places are like.
Don't understand how they box square up on you.
No, these were like, I would have thought they were cats the way they were laying on their backs and stuff, and just like whatever. I'm here. Come hang out.
They were associated. Yeah.
Like whatever, man. It was cool. It was a really good time. We got to see a lot of cool stuff. Natalie was absolutely fascinated with everything. I love her just genuine interest when we go into a place that had like all the different little aquarium spots for whether there's lizards or snakes. She had to find where the things were in there, and she was just like asking questions. She was reading stuff. I was like, nothing warms my heart more than seeing her get curious about something and asking questions. I'm like, this kid's into this, and it's awesome. Like, as a parent, you're like, I love this. It's so cool. It's so cool. She had a good time. She did great in the car. So did Loki. It was just top to bottom, soup to nuts.
Sounds idyllic, man.
Great. It was a great trip, man. I have no complaints other than the weather. The weather fucked us, but I'm so happy that we worked around it and we made it our own. So looking forward to next time.
Genuinely excited I'm excited that went so well, not only just for you guys, but for everyone, that the entire experience, there was no weirdness, no hurt feelings, nothing odd came out of it. It was just, again, cool people being cool together. And I'm genuinely happy for everybody that this first one kicked off that way. Very excited to hopefully participate in the second one. That's a very cool experience. And like you said, if 8 years ago, if you told us that we would have we would have a community, let alone one that we'd be meeting up in person with, that would,
I'd be like, bullshit. Also, everyone got a free Mind Gap t-shirt. So
I saw everyone wearing that. Yeah.
Yep. I got everyone t-shirts for coming. I thought that's the least we could do. So
fuck yeah.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. So funny thing, on the way down on the car ride, it was really important to me to stay active. Like I wanted to make sure I kept my movement streak going. And so when I got up the day of, I'm like, God, this is going to be like a 7.5 hour drive. I got to make sure, one, I wear Loki out because I want her to be tired for the ride. Sure. And also I need to get some exercise in so that I have a head start on the day, a big head start. So I got up and we did like a, 4.5 mile walk. And my movement goal for the day is like, 1,170 calories, move calories per day. So I got up to about 870, so it's about 300 calories away. And I was just like talking with Jill on the ride. I was like, I just want to make sure that I get this. I go, I'm at like 870. I got 300 to go. So, and she goes, oh, you'll be fine. I'm like, you think so? She goes, yeah, you could burn 300 calories taking a dump. And I didn't skip a beat. I'm like, yeah, right. And then I took a moment and I go, wait, what? Well, hold on a second. And I started doing like some arithmetic because I was like, I can burn about, sometimes 300, almost 400 calories on an hour walk going just over 3 miles. And I started like thinking, I go, hold on a second. What would it take to burn 300 calories taking a dump? And she goes, oh my God. I was like, right? And we just started like breaking it down. Like the idea, like the stress you'd have to put your body through to burn 300 calories. I was like, because your heart rate would have to be up and it would probably have to be for an extended period of time.
I was going to say, you would have to keep it up. Yeah.
The strain that it would take on that sounds almost like giving childbirth.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
Right. Just that's like birthing a kid, It
really is.
Just the amount of stress your body goes through. And it just got me thinking, I'm like, God, what would it take to burn 300 calories taking a shit?
I feel like if you were to burn 300 calories taking a shit, you would have to pause midway through, stand up, stretch your legs, walk around a little bit, and then sit back down and finish up the job. I feel like it would have to be, you don't have to necessarily pull your pants up, but you would definitely have to pause in the middle.
I imagine
a rest period.
Yeah.
Where you take some water.
I imagine, like you said, arrest, like the cops are going to come. There's a period where you get arrested.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
I was like, this probably something where it's stuck in there and you got to do stuff to get it out. You're sitting there doing like body weight squats, you're doing mountain climbers, You're doing
the scrunchie where you're bringing your legs up and
you're doing like the reverse crunch, trying to make that happen. And just that's what it is. And you're just gripping the seat, just like, just trying to make it happen. Just covered in sweat. I hope. Listen, I've had some horrible dumps in my life, and I never want to burn 300 calories doing that. Like that sounds.
I think if you burn 300 calories taking a dump, you would die. I don't think. I think that kind of a dump. I don't know that you would make it up. I don't think you'd be walking away from that, Doug.
Yeah,
I got bad news for you.
I got bad news for a lot of people. If you burn 300 calories during a dump, that's a fight for your life right there, my friend.
That really is. Yeah, you got the eye of the tiger on that one. The brown eye of the tiger.
That's not good. But while we did that, I just started laughing and I pulled out my phone. I'm like, I'm putting this down to talk about on the podcast. I was like,
I wonder. Hold on. I'm curious. I'm gonna do this in incognito mode because I don't want Google serving the ads that relate to this. But
you're such a cuck.
Do you burn taking a shit?
There you go.
According to one study, the average person burns about 2 to 3 calories per bowel movement. So how do you take that and multiply it by 100?
I thought you were going to say 200 to 300. And I was like, okay, I've miscalculated my dumps. And I was
I've been incorrect forever. Yeah.
Okay. Apparently I do that all the time. Yeah. 2 to 3 calories. I mean, because really how strenuous is it? Your heart rate isn't going up,
No.
The only times I've had have just been like the ferocious diarrhea, where you have bubble gut and you think you're going to shit your pants before you get to the toilet. And I've been like, oh my God. And then like my body is sweating and, I'm not taking the hint that my body's like, hey man, you need to make a change in your diet, Yeah.
Well, hold on. We're getting there's a lot of articles. Now this is where I don't know if the internet feeds on itself. It's just like, like one person posted it and everyone else is like, this is accurate. I just need clicks.
Yeah.
But a bunch of different websites saying pooping does burn about 68 calories in an hour. So if that's the case, you'd have to go what, 4 or 5 hours?
Who's pooping for an hour?
I don't know. While you pooping, you tense your muscles, and depending on the fiber and water count in your poop, hold on, let me click through to actually get to the link. You could have a strenuous poop or a swift poop. The more you strain, the more calories you burn, although it would be very uncomfortable for you. Pooping in a squat toilet would require you to squat. This position also burns more calories.
Makes sense.
Just like you would when squatting anywhere else, however, the calorie content. Okay, so here we go. So, all right. So you could engineer the way that you poop, right? You could do what do they call it, like a suicide hold? Where isn't that what it's called? When you hold on, isn't it?
I need you to explain more.
Have you ever done a Del Rule workout?
No. Well, yeah, once or twice, and I was like, my life's not worth this. Life's too short to go through this.
Basically, it's a squat hold, more or less.
Right.
I thought they called them suicides, but yeah,
I think you're right.
But you could do a squat hold, which in theory would activate more muscles and in theory burn more calories. So that's one way. You could do a wall hold or a wall squat, right?
Sounds like what you need to do is you need to be working out while you take a shit. That's what it sounds like to me.
I feel like that's the only way we're going to get to the
And that sounds incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, also messy.
Yeah. Doesn't seem is also if the strain, I have a feeling that's going to rip up your insides if you strain too much. So that's how you get a hernia, buddy.
A 300 calorie dump sounds like the worst possible dump that you could possibly ever have.
Doesn't sound good. I'll tell you that much.
Again, you're fighting for your life. That's it.
Doesn't sound good at all. Yeah. So that was a fun conversation. I'm glad I was able to bring to the podcast. You're welcome, everybody.
Oh, this is why we started the podcast.
Don't act like you don't have these kind of conversations on long road trips. All right. Let's not get holier than thou, audience. I know what you talk about. But it sounds like, doing a 300 calorie dump would be like a cleanse. And speaking of cleanse, you're kind of going through your own cleanse right now, aren't you?
I am. But before we transition to that, the next time that you go for a movement, I would like you to set an other workout on your watch and
How
just
about
see
I set it
what
as wrestling? How about that? So then you'll
whatever
know
you want to do, Doug.
How about
whatever
from
you
now
wanna
on, whenever we poop, we're going to say we're doing wrestling so we'll know when we're pooping. How about that?
We'll see. Doug just completed wrestling. Oh, good for him. He's like, that's the fourth one today. That's really good.
That's not really good. He's got problems.
He's got problems.
Yeah. It's just like, we call it like horseback riding or something like that.
You're going to see wrestling come up now and you're going to know.
Yeah.
And it's going to say he burned 2 calories.
He's like, wow, that wasn't very long either,
Well, there you go. He must be a very good wrestler.
He must not be on his phone anymore if he's pooping that quick. Am I right?
Speaking of which, well done. That was 2 segues for you.
2 good ones. Like, mark it in the books, y'all. I did it.
Yeah. Episode 40, what is this? 402?
402, baby.
Yeah. Only took 402 episodes, but that
10,000 hours. Get you where you need to go.
There you go. Yeah, no, I'm taking this week. I decided I wanted to start examining, not just from fitness. This took me almost the entire year, the Fit by 40 thing, but I'm wanting to do mental cleanse as well, and look at the different things in my life that take my attention, take my time, and so one of those is social media. I'm not on a ton of different platforms. Really, Instagram's the only one I do. I spend some time on Reddit, and I look at that as a little bit of like social media. Discord, I'm on there every once in a while. I look at that as social media. Twitter, I just open it up usually to delete the notifications to like satisfy like, yep, I've seen the notification, then I close it. So Instagram's the only one that I spend any significant amount of time on. But I realized that every time I had a moment to myself, anytime that I had a downtime, I was pulling out my phone, opening Instagram, and just doom scrolling. I would hit reels or I would check whatever. And it got to the point where I was scrolling long enough where I actually was getting like motion sick. I was getting nauseous, and I was like, this isn't good. And then there was, I can't remember what it was. There was one specific a reel that I was watching, and I actually had this self-actualization of like, how is this reel making you a better person? Like it is. I'm watching someone like feed their chickens and explain how having chickens is a good thing for them. I'm like, this has nothing to do with, I'll never own chickens. I'm sure it's a lovely thing to own and they give you eggs and yada, yada, yada. But I'm like, this is an absolute definition of a waste of time, a waste of I could be doing anything else. So I said, fuck it. I'm deleting Twitter just to get that off my phone. I'm shutting down Instagram, Reddit, and Discord for at least 1 week. I'm starting with 1 week, and I'm going to see how it is. So anytime I am, alone with my thoughts, pooping, trying to burn 200 calories, or if I just have, downtime, I'm allowing myself to be bored, and I'm just allowing myself to sit and think, and I'm not pulling the phone out. I'm not checking emails. I'm really just trying to sit and just kind of be, because I can't remember who it was. And I think we talked about this in the podcast, but someone had said the problem with creativity nowadays is that no one allows themselves to be bored anymore.
Yeah.
And back in the day, all these great ideas came out because people didn't have anything to do, and they just sat and thought, and ideas came to them, and they allowed themselves to be bored, which allowed their minds to wander, which allowed these ideas to form. And then we had amazing stories and inventions and philosophies that came out of this. So I want to allow myself to be bored for a little while. So right now I'm on a social media purge, and I think in another week or two, I think I'm going to try doing a TV purge, and I'm only going to no YouTube, no TV, no video per se, like of any shape or form. Just to get the news, I'm going to read it. I'm going to go to, Beth and I subscribe to the Apple News app, so we get all sorts of different periodicals that come through, and that's how I'll keep up on things. And I'm going to see what it's like to go a week, and I'm going to read a lot of books, or at least read a book. Maybe I can finish a book in a week.
There you
go.
We'll
see. So this is my new thing that I'm trying, just to kind of cut things out for a week and see how it makes me feel. And I'm starting with social media. So far, I got to say, keeping on the poop trend, much more efficient. I'm in and out. I got a lot of time back. Didn't realize how long I was sitting there. Yeah. Do you surf social media at all when you're on?
I do sometimes. Yeah, I've done it. I've done it before. Not as I'm more cognizant of that. Like when I'm like, I got things I got to do.
Yeah,
I can't sit here forever. But yeah, I've done the same thing. Like before I go to bed, sometimes like after like a video game stream or something, I'm like, I'm not ready for bed. I'll just watch this for a little bit. And every time I do it, my brain goes, don't do this. Don't do this. And an hour goes by. And I'm like, fuck, that's an hour I could have spent sleeping. But instead, I just keep watching dumb shit. And I was like, stop it. And it just, this is the one thing I don't like about having a podcast. It's because the only reason why I have these social medias is because of the podcast. So, if I didn't have this podcast, I would absolutely not have any of them. I wouldn't. Yeah. I absolutely wouldn't. But because there's the formula, right? For getting people to know more about you. It's not only posting content, you have to engage with it. And I don't do the engagement part of it. I don't like Same. I don't have the energy to be like, what are people doing? And just being active. If you engage with our content, I'll engage back with you. But and
we love it when people engage with our content, but
I don't want to wade into that. It takes so much energy to create the content, edit the content, upload the content to 3 fucking platforms, and then write the goddamn descriptions, put the hashtags, do all that sort of stuff, and then be like, and now go find other people and engage with them. Like, this is absurd. This is absolutely absurd, and I don't like spending my time and effort on it. So that's probably the biggest bane of my existence when it comes to the podcast is just I think 80% of the way there. I can't do that other 20% of just continuing. I try to do that on Twitter to some degree. I feel like I was somewhat engaging with stuff, but I'm like, I don't like Instagram at all. I don't enjoy that. TikTok just seems like a mess. Like I was like, who would wade into the comments and any of this stuff? Like it sounds like a fucking nightmare to do that. You know? But I just want to say I'm really happy for you. I think this is a great idea. I've found that when I have breaks from that stuff, it's infinitely better. Just I feel better. I don't think about it. I don't need it. Yeah. And I think it'll be a good thing for your brain. And to step away from that, I think that's great. I think it's really, really good. Something I wouldn't recommend is a trend that I've seen. Like there was this nutritionist who was promoting a saltwater cleanse, a gut cleanse, where essentially you chug a glass of water that has some salt in it, and it basically will either give you super watery diarrhea or it'll make you throw up. And this person's like, this is, if you feel like you've got gut problems, do this and you need to cleanse your gut. It's like, no, you're going to fucking shit like crazy or you're going to vomit and you're going to get dehydrated. You don't need to do this. And there's just all sorts of bullshit like this that floats around where people are like, yeah, this is good for my gut health.
These experts, that's the thing that drives me fucking nuts is everybody's got expertise about something.
Yeah.
And
it's easy to fall into it because people can just like talk.
Yeah.
I see so much nutritionist stuff. Like people are like, here's a great meal. I'm like, that looks really good. But then I started thinking, I'm like, well, how do I know it's a good meal? How do I know it's actually nutritious? Right. Like if you're talking like, hey, enjoy this, it tastes good. But people are like, hey, if you're trying to gain muscle, here's a great like, thing. And I'm like,
right.
How do I really know that? Everyone's got a fucking cookbook that they're selling, for their nutrition guides. And I found some people on there where I'm like, that makes sense, and I'm like, yeah, I think like there was this guy recently I found who's talking about, how to basically eat more food to lose weight. And the idea is like eating good stuff. Like instead of like he did, he's like, here's an example of like a classic breakfast. It's like an omelet, a 4-egg omelet with some toast and some butter and whatever. And he's like, this is so many calories. What if instead you still did the same omelet, but you just used one yolk and used egg whites, and then you gave yourself a shitload of veggies and you gave yourself some strawberries. He goes, the veggies are low calorie. And he goes, instead of using butter or anything like that, you use a spray. Like he's giving you all these tips where it's like, you are going to be full. You're going to be more full and you're eating less calories. That's going to help with your calorie deficit to help you lose weight. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. That checks out. And he's like, yeah, these are the kinds of things. He's like, have this giant bowl of Greek non-fat yogurt with some frozen fruit and some Jell-O. He goes, it's 450 grams of this stuff. And he goes, I guarantee you're going to be full. And it's only like 300 calories. He goes, you're welcome. Yeah. I'm like, that fucking makes sense. Like it totally makes sense. So
whenever I make eggs, that's the rest. It's three egg whites and one whole egg. And it makes an incredible amount of eggs and you don't have to worry about, sure you're not getting as much protein because the protein's in the yolk and whatever, but it's doing its job. And it's a great way to, it's a great way to not trick yourself, but to make yourself think like I am eating 4 eggs, but you're doing something for yourself. And swapping out for the veggies and the fruit, fucking, it's genius. It absolutely is.
I need to eat more veggies. Today, I realized I have a giant like container of pickles that I've had for a while because pickles.
I love pickles. People go nuts on those things.
There's 0 calories, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, today I'm like, let's bust out some of those pickles when I need a snack because I'm like, that shit will fill you up, it'll satisfy you, and it's 0 calories, baby. I'm like, absolutely, yeah, done deal. But anyway, back to the thing. I'm really happy for you for doing this. I commend you for it. I think it's important. I think everyone should try this because social media fucking sucks. It really sucks.
It does. And I found too that as of late, I have I feel like I've been dipping in and out of depression a little bit more easily, and just for my own mental health. And again, we want to talk about this as freely and openly as possible on the podcast because people deal with it and it's okay to talk about it, and social media doesn't help it. And I'm realizing that just being, because not only are you comparing, you're seeing everyone else do stuff and you're like, man, I'm not putting any, like if you're a creative, like we are, like I'm seeing people do this. I'm like, I'm not putting nearly as much out as I should or being creative. And then as I'm watching this, and then I'm realizing, well, you're spending time watching this and that's doing it. And then also just being disengaged with everything else going on around you and being sucked into your phone. It's all of that kind of compounds on itself. And I really think that's been affecting my mental state, and it's not good. So I would urge anyone that finds themselves often on social media, just try it. Give yourself a break. I'm 2 days into it, and I'm 3 days today. And I'm really actually already starting to feel much. The first 2 days, I'll say that I had the weird muscle memory thing where I would reach for my phone, I would stop, and I would put it away, and I had to keep checking myself. And today, I didn't actually reach for it. Like if I was going to check I reached for it with purpose instead of mindlessly reaching for my phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it only took 3 days to kind of start to turn the tide on that. So,
That's
and
awesome.
it feels good. It definitely feels good. You decided to purge yourself of a digital evil recently as well.
Oh my God. There's no surprise here. I've talked about it ad nauseum. LinkedIn fucking sucks. It is a shit app for shit people. Hard stop. It is. It's a garbage app that you go on there and you look at your feed and it's just a bunch of people just fluffing each other, fluffing themselves. It is the worst trite nonsense drivel that comes out of these people that they just fart onto LinkedIn. And I shut down just about every single notification, but I'm also a notification person. I'm like you, where if I see there's like something app that has like a notification on it, I have to make that notification go away.
Yeah.
I can't sit there with it on there.
A little red bubble.
Trello's like that on my fucking phone right now, and I can't get I don't know where the notification is, but it's in there.
Oh no.
It's driving me crazy. I'm like, where is it? Where is it? But I used to work at Grubhub, and Grubhub recently laid off several hundred people from their workforce. Mm-hmm. So the people that I was connected to on fucking LinkedIn are all posting about it. And listen, you got laid off. It sucks. It's awful. I can only imagine. I got laid off once. It sucks. Didn't really want to work there. So, I mean, whatever. That's a different time. Story for a different time that I've already told. But like, I understand that feeling. So I want to empathize first. I want to put some compassion out there. It sucks. But what I don't like is what I see is virtue signaling for everyone who didn't lose their job.
Okay.
Where they'll be like, oh my gosh, today, what a difficult day. This company that I work for has laid off some of my best friends and the most talented employees out there. Please, I'm spreading this out to my network. Here are some people, and they tag them. Please look into them. They're available. They're great at what they do. Please check them out. Now listen, on paper, that's a really kind thing to do. Sure. You're acknowledging the situation. You're putting out something, letting people know, hey, here's a good person. You should totally check them out. They lost their job, and please help them out. All right? But LinkedIn felt like they need to notify me that this person had either posted or shared someone else's post about this. And I was like, why am I getting this notification? I don't want this notification. I don't fucking care. So I click on the thing. I say, I'm not interested in any more notifications like this. Or like, got it. You won't see any more like this. 2 hours later, notification. Guess what? This same person has shared someone else's post about that. It's like, hey, asshole, I don't want these kind of notifications. It's like, gotcha. We're not going to send those to you anymore. The next day, another person that I know that I was connected to was like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. These people were let go. Please. It's like, I'm like, I don't want this notification. It's like, you got it, buddy. You're not going to see this anymore. This happens like 6 more times. I get so mad because I'm like, I don't work there anymore. I don't follow this company. I'm connected to these people. Why am I getting their notifications specifically? I don't care. I don't want it. And I got to the point where I'm like, fuck this app. Fuck this website. Get off my phone. And I just like irrationally, I probably could have said, don't send me any notifications whatsoever.
Nope.
Part of Practical Doug was
right
like,
thing.
Occasionally I get messages from people. I'm like, I'll get a fucking email when someone messages me. I'm out. And I just like deleted it. I was like, fuck LinkedIn so hard. It's such a, it was such a good idea in early on where it's like, hey, here's a place to connect with people for a work, as a professional. Great idea, right? And it's turned into whether it's either a pity party or it's just people blowing themselves. Yeah. It's people that just like, it's awful. And Justin, did you hear? LinkedIn's rolling out its own AI stuff. And do you know what this AI stuff does, Justin?
What's that, Doug?
You type in at least 30 words of what you want to say, and then it fills in the rest of a post for you. So that means...
Wait, I'm sorry, a post.
Yes.
Not like fills in your resume or fills in what... It actually will create
it's
a post
for
for
making
you.
a post on LinkedIn. If you're like, you have to type in at least 30 words to give an idea of what you want to say, and then it will fill in the rest. It's already
Is 30 words not a post? I feel like that's a post already. How many words do you need for a post?
already bad enough as it is. Imagine the sort of
Oh man,
self-sucking off sort of stuff that AI is going to create. If it's been trained on the LinkedIn stuff, the amount of self-love
yes,
that will come out of this as people post stuff and with AI enhanced stuff, it'll be a goddamn nightmare. It's already bad.
I can't wait until people start trolling it though. I do think we'll get a couple.
Who's
really
going to troll it, Justin? Who's trolling LinkedIn? Nobody goes there. That's cool. Nobody goes to LinkedIn. That's cool. Why would they? The cool people are anywhere but LinkedIn.
Can I interject real quick?
Yes.
Stuff is stupid, stuff is dumb. Doug hates stuff.
Doug hates LinkedIn. That should be its own thing. The amount of times I've just railed against that fucking website. I hate it so much.
The thing is, it's true because and all the notifications that you get, and I think I sent you a meme on that one time where it was like, hey, 7 people looked at your profile, and you're like, cool, who? Someone from aerospace looked at your Why does that matter? Why does any of that matter? Someone from pet care looked at your profile. Okay, doesn't apply to me. Anyone else? Go premium to see the other people who looked at your profile. Yeah, the notifications mean nothing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I
have had zero. I want to say zero. Maybe one meaningful interaction on LinkedIn the entire time that I've been on there. I have maybe had one truly beneficial, meaningful interaction. Everything else has been either people, hey, congratulations on your work anniversary. Or
that's about as bad as like Facebook
or
birthdays.
The cold sells. Yeah. I have yet to see the benefit of LinkedIn.
I understand its purpose, but its purpose has evolved into something awful. Evil. And it's the problem is that it started, in my opinion, innocently enough, and then certain people started getting traction in there doing something a certain way, and then people just followed suit. And it's turned into this thing where people get on a soapbox. They're like, let me tell you something, managers. Let me tell you a little thing called employee satisfaction. Let me tell you how you need to treat your workers. Listen here, CEOs.
Right.
It ain't about the beanbag chairs. It ain't about snacks at work. We want to be treated like human beings, which, you know, on itself, it's like, yeah, that all makes sense. But the way that it's done, the memes that are shared on there, and the people that I find that are most active on there, I can't fucking stand. The people in my workplace that were complete tools were the same people that are on LinkedIn actively, and I'm like, of course you are. This is like, I look at that, you know, some people look at Facebook like, oh, that's for old people. LinkedIn is for old people, in my opinion. Old professionals who are like, hey, and that's not true. I know other people I've worked with, but I feel like people go there looking at LinkedIn like a savior for all their work-life woes. And it's not that. If there's grifters wherever you go, LinkedIn feels like a giant grift of people that are constantly trying to be like, hey, I'm hosting a webinar about how to turn $1 into $2. You know, it's just whatever it is. It's just absolute horseshit, and I can't fucking stand it. And
now, I don't know if this is. I'm sorry.
No,
go ahead.
Go.
I was going to say, I don't know if this is because I have a business and I've listed as the business owner on my LinkedIn profile, or if you get this too. But do you get like that, like where it's just grift nation or unsolicited, unsolicited sales pitches or connections? Do you get like an ungodly amount of these?
I don't.
So I have like, here's one: message received with premium. Hi, Justin. My name is, I'm not going to say his name. I'm a former Fortune 500 exec, transformational mentor and coach, and founder of something I'm not going to say. I'm not going to give him a plug. I reached out because I help high performers like you connect to the most inspired versions of yourself. Attract what truly brings you joy. Realize the full depth of this amazing life experience. It's not a traditional executive coaching program by any means. It's for high-performing executives. You didn't know they could send audio messages on here like this.
No, I'm just translating for people with what they're saying.
Oh, that's right. But it's for high-performing executives, entrepreneurs, and business owners. Want to experience something more in their lives and realize the true potential. Here's the best paragraph. My concierge level transformational program. I'm going to read that again. My concierge level transformational program has helped many create better relationships, curb anxiety, fortify self-esteem, and find new levels of life balance, joy, and purpose across all areas of life. Would you be open to learning more? And I'm telling you, dude, I get shit like this constantly. People who are just, yeah. Hey, your business looks really fascinating. I'd love to help you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nothing of me or my business. Obviously, you've done zero research on who I am. And guess what? It shows.
You know what's funny? Someone paid for premium, which is not cheap, to be able to send you a direct message.
Yeah.
That is a waste of fucking money. I know it's a numbers game, but that's a waste of fucking money. The most I've gotten is like someone going, "Hey, I saw your resume. I think you'd be great for this training role." I'm like, I don't do that.
Just open another one. It's board position open for you. I'm like, on the board of what? I don't have the fucking CV for that. Who are you? Who are you?
That always pissed me off whenever I would get emails from people. They're like, "Hey, I saw your resume. I think you'd be great for this sales job." I'm like, if you looked at my resume, you'd see I have no sales experience. Why would you fucking talk to me about this? No. I don't mind like the instructional design stuff because people are like, "Hey, we're looking for a contractor to do X, Y, and Z. Let me know if you're interested." Yeah. I'm like, that's fine. Like it's at least within the realm of what I do. So that seems whatever. Like I don't respond to them, but I'm like, whatever, it's fine. But I hate the ones that are salesy, where someone's like, "Hey, I saw that you like podcasts. Could you? What do you think is your favorite podcast episode you ever listened to? Anyway, here's my pitch." I was like, "Go fuck yourself."
Absolutely, yeah.
Get out of here.
They find one little thing and they're like, "Oh, I can make a connection on this." All right.
I felt really gross because I work on, I've talked about this before. I'm an editor for the Take Two podcast, which is a phenomenal podcast. You should go check it out. I love it. But I was like, I felt compelled one day to share an episode. It was the loneliness episode on there, which is awesome. It's so good. Lindsay and Stacy just break down loneliness, how it's really bad these days. I was like, you know what? I'm going to post this on LinkedIn because I want to shout out Will for giving me the opportunity to work on that. I want to shout out the podcast. I was like, this seems like something that would be good for the LinkedIn community. You know what I mean? I don't mean that in a bad way, but I'm like, this could be something where people be like, "Oh, cool." And I shared it, and part of me was like, gross. I contributed to the algorithm. Gross. But, I did it for, for other stuff. But I felt gross doing it. I didn't like doing it. Nothing about it felt good. And I feel like as soon as I posted something, all of a sudden people came out of the woodwork. They're like, "Oh, hey, where have you been?"
Right. Ooh, you
haven't seen you in a while.
Fresh meat. Fresh meat.
Where do you work?
Yeah, they just get all fucking slobbery and like,
okay.
Else peddle our wares too.
I was like, fuck, get out of here. So yeah,
that's it's not fun. It's not a fun place.
One less app on my phone that
that's
don't need
the
to
way
get notifications from.
You know what? If I wasn't recording this on my phone right now, I would go in and delete because I feel the same way. I don't need it on my phone. It's an app that I do not need to check that on my phone. Zero reason. Absolutely no reason.
I will get emails and I will log in on my desktop to check it when needed. So
yeah.
Justin,
I'm going to join that, Doug. I'm going to join you in that.
Join me and deleting LinkedIn off your phones. That's an imperative.
Okay? Rise up. Yes.
So, Justin.
Yeah.
I've got big news, okay? And to everyone listening, I've got big news for you too, because I heard a new slang term today. Not today, but recently. And it blew my mind. Because I was like, this is how new vernacular is created. Okay.
Did you learn this on LinkedIn?
I did not learn this on LinkedIn. I learned about this on the Your Mom's House podcast, so you know it's going to be family friendly.
100%. This is your warning.
So, I learned about a phrase, a collection of words that means it's used for when you're absolutely slaying, the ultimate form of yassification, popping off so hard you can't contain it and everyone is in awe. That's one person's definition according to Urban Dictionary. So, I want you to take a guess. I'll give you some context. One word in this 2-word phrase is a word that's pretty negative. And what I appreciate about this is it's like a reclamation of that word and empowering folks to use it. But when you and I hear this word, we don't hear empowerment. And I will say right out the bat, gang, this is not the N-word, okay? We're safe there. It's nothing pejorative in terms of race.
I didn't know if we made 400 and then 402 was going to be our demise or what.
I also want to set the boundaries so you're not like, I mean, is it like, what's a slang for the Portuguese or something? You know, like just... You know, it's nothing like that. So I would just take a guess. So if you, based on this definition, it's 2 words used for when you're absolutely slaying, the ultimate form of yassification, popping off so hard you can't contain it and everyone is in awe. And one of the words is a naughty word.
Is it cunt bubbler?
You got one of the words right.
I did? Bubbler?
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you said it was 2 because the first thing, I don't know if you've ever seen the Key and Peele sketch, Pussy on the Chain Wax.
I feel like I have. It sounds familiar.
It's where one of them tries to make that a thing. You got to keep the pussy on the chain wax. And he's like, that doesn't mean anything. That's just words together. And like they go back and forth.
It's funny because
like, no, I say it all the time.
It kind of feels like that. It does.
And so I was like, if someone actually tried to make that a thing, I would have loved it. But I'm glad you said it was 2.
All right. I'll give you like a quick guess. If you know,
Clint Tower. Close.
So first of all, when I prepped this to Justin in our pre-production meeting, Justin goes, "Oh, I bet I can figure out what it is." I go, I'm not a gambling man. I'm willing to bet money you will not guess this phrase. There's just, and if you do know it, then oh my God, you know, like, I
believe a prize was offered to me.
Yes. I was like, it was something. I was like, you will get some prize if you can figure this out. So, but you figured out the naughty word.
Thank you.
The phrase.
That's never the word I have an issue with.
The new hit phrase. I
always find the naughty word. Yes.
The new hit phrase that all the young kids are using now apparently is called serving cunt.
Interesting.
Yes.
Like on a platter.
See, that's the part that I struggle with. Because when I hear serving cunt, I think of a platter, you know. But the idea, and I'll use it in some examples.
Use context for me, yeah.
So like, OMG, Chloe, you're serving cunt tonight. Like you are being, like you're looking great, you're looking fabulous. I'm
just thinking about using this in this.
Yep.
Like, man.
I also joked to you, I'm like, oh yeah, man, people are totally using this at work, you know, like.
Oh my God, Chloe, you're totally serving cunt tonight.
So it's also another way of like another definition is saying something is amazing or fantastic. Used similarly as saying someone or something is sexy, mostly just used for women. Some definitions say it can be for anyone, but this one is suggesting for women. It says, Hyuna is serving cunt in this photo shoot.
Jesus Christ.
That's probably my delivery of that. I really emphasize the cunt, but there's also...
it makes it sound like an X-rated photo shoot, right? Like she's serving some cup.
Yeah, right? This definition just makes me laugh because it's too specific. It says something that motherfuckers named Lily are always doing. Who is over there serving cunt? That's just Lily. They're always doing that.
Is this Urban Dictionary you're on?
Yes.
Sometimes they have the best hyper-specific definitions.
Right. So another example is like person 1. Do I post this photo on Instagram? Person 2, yes, you serve cunt for real.
I don't get it. I get it, but I don't. I understand. I know, like if you say like, oh, you served him. Like I've heard people say that you got served, or I've heard that.
You got to forget everything you've learned, Justin.
I've heard that people call each other cunt as well. I've never heard the two put them together and say that they're being served cunt. I don't get it.
So this was news to Tom Segura and his wife, Christina P., and their guest, Lauren, because apparently this came up and Tom was like, I'm sorry, what? And they're like, yeah, like this is the thing that kids are saying. And Tom's like, can define this. And his producer's like, I don't know how to define it. One of our interns, she's like, she gets it. This is actually the theme of her birthday party, was serving cunt. And Tom goes, what? Can you get her in here? And he's like, yeah. Yeah, right? So like she comes in and she's like, yeah, like it basically means like you're wearing like, you know, an amazing, you know, outfit, and you're just like, you know, you're everyone's like, holy shit, look at this person, they're awesome. And Tom's like, all right, which one of us is serving the most cunt right now? And it's like, oh, it's the guest. She's got the sequin jacket on, all this stuff. And he's like, all right, cool. And they're like, and sometimes we'll just say, man, you're really cunty, you know? And I'm like, no, that's not how I learned what that is. That means.
Wait, I'm sorry. The intern said sometimes they'll say.
Yeah, it's like, or really short frame is like, man, you're cunty, you know? I'm like,
wow.
I don't think that's a positive.
Changing the game on that word then. Holy shit.
Yeah, so I'm like, generations above you will not take that as a compliment.
No, absolutely not. This will be one of those line in the sand moments if the newer generations do fully adopt this, and it's not just a flash in the pan zeitgeist thing. This will be a line in the sand moment where you will be able to clearly delineate between generations.
Yep.
If this sticks.
Yeah, I would love for us as an American culture, the US culture, to reclaim cunt, to not be so fucking brutal.
I fully agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
Because
it is just a word.
Yeah, hearing folks in the UK and Australia use it, like it seems so less threatening. I think it's the way we pronounce it. We're just like, cunt. It's like, oh God, Jesus.
Well,
like,
we get the T too, cunt.
Yeah, cunt.
Yeah.
Whereas they're like, hey, look at this cheeky cunt right here. You know, it's like, it doesn't.
They swallow it. They swallow the cunt.
They don't enunciate. It's such a small 4-letter word, but they don't put the weight behind it, you know?
Right.
They're just like, it's like, don't be
throw
a
it away
cunt,
like a
you know?
napkin.
Yeah. It's just, boom, it's out the door. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
And, because that word.
I fully agree to that, yeah.
So to like a certain level, I'm like, I love what's happening here, is that a generation is like taking that word to like, no, we're going to feel empowered by this. Like, this is something we're going to say, and we're going to agree that like, this means you're awesome. And I'm like, okay. Like,
I don't dislike it. I mean, I don't disagree. It definitely, because of how I've been conditioned, it hits my ears. It hits my ears a certain way. And it surprises me how it's being used and how cavalier people are being with throwing this around as a compliment.
Yeah.
I'm not, again, for the record, not against it. I'm kind of for it. I don't know that I will be helping. I don't know that I'll be an early adopter of this myself.
I wouldn't go out there testing the waters with this personally.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I didn't grow up like hearing that word a lot. It's not really in my vocabulary. Like I throw it out very specifically, at times, mostly to help Jill describe someone. Because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna help Jill with this. I'm like, are they see you next Tuesday? She's like, yes. I'm like, there we go, we got it. But I don't. It's not really in my vocab for swear words. I don't fling that around all unnecessarily. So it's definitely worth noting that to me. So, but I understood like it was always like a no-no. It was a big no-no word. And so when I hear that, I'm like, whoa, especially when Americans use it. I'm like, oh, okay. So for me, I would love to be like 20 years from now where that's just like the slang, and I'll be like laughing, being like, I remember when that was not the case at all. This used to mean a really bad word,
I think it'd be amazing if as old people, we could just, it gets to the point where it is commonplace, and then just as old people, we're just throwing it around. Because I think old people saying that is hysterical.
It is so funny. Like, there could be a lot of really funny things hearing old people do, like hearing old people talk about like esports, talking about games, referring to things like, saying things like tank diff, DPS diff,
I don't know what those mean, but yes.
Your support level sucks. You got shitty supports over there, Well,
we've talked about too how the current older generation, how we're just like, the Beatles and the Stones and the Pretenders, like all like the Turtles, like all these bands are like, yep, that makes sense, for music. But as we age, we're going to be 80-year-olds listening to the Beastie Boys and to Blink-182 and to Wu-Tang Clan. And we're going to be sitting there in the old folks' home with just cream, get the money, dollar bills, y'all.
Jill will forever be singing Shoop. Doing some Snoop Dogg and things like that. But also what's interesting, I saw this recently, someone basically tagged certain bands and songs as dad rock now. And some of those songs included Fat Lip by Sum 41, which I'm like, makes sense. That song came out when I was 18, what else was there? There was like a Slipknot song, which I was like, I think it was Duality. I'm like, checks out.
Logically, that checks. Yes.
Korn. Yeah. They're going through all these songs, and it was a guy that was duetting it, and each one that came out, he was like, no. But to me, I embraced that. I'm like, good. I always used to joke when I was younger. I'm like, if you're telling me at some point Blink-182 is going to be considered classic rock, I can't fucking wait, because that means it'll be everywhere. It'll be all over the place, and that's what I want to listen to. You're telling me Sum 41's dad rock? Yippee skippy. That's good. And also, for the first time, it made me realize, listening to my dad or my mom listen to music and being like, God, this music sucks or whatever, and not enjoying it. And now I'm like, the stuff that I grew up with is now considered, probably people are like, ugh, God, Sum 41. I'm like, Sum 41's not old. And I'm like, no, they are. I look at Blink-182. I'm like, Mark Hoppus, Tom DeLonge. They look old, man. They look weathered. They look old. And I was like, yikes. That's life for you. But yeah, I embraced that. I was like, listen, that's just how it goes, man. That's just how it goes. That stuff ages with you, unfortunately. At some point, it's going to be considered. At some point, that's just going to be considered like ancient music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, golden oldies.
At some point, they're going to be like, guys, Blink-182 has died. I'd be like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, they passed away. I'm like, oh no, from what? Yeah. Old age. Oh God, old age. Like, I'm old.
That's oh man, aging's a bitch.
It's tough, man. We're heading into that realm of like that second half of the race, we're like, things, hitting 40 didn't bother me too much, but there's just these perspectives where I'm like, oh, right. I start doing the math. I'm like, when's Natalie going to graduate high school? I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to be in my 50s. She graduates high school. Justin just put his face in his hands. I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to be in my early 50s. I'll be like, because she would be 17 10 years from now.
Doug, you're triggering me. I'm
yeah,
triggered.
Yeah. She's going to be, when she's 18, I'm going to be 51.
Holy fucking, it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
When she's 28, I'm going to be 61. That's how math works, everybody. That's how math works. Yeah. When she's roughly my age now, I'm going to be 71 years old.
Doug just shut Justin down for the rest of the podcast.
Yeah.
My brain broke.
It's
I don't
weird
like
when
this.
you kind of like do the math and you kind of relate it to something like that. You're like, oh, fuck.
Well, I remember distinctly when I turned 28, my dad saying to me, he goes, "You are the age I was when you were born. You are now the age that I was when I had you." And I was like,
How
whoa,
bad did you shit your pants?
oh no, the only thing I thought was, I was like, then you weren't ready to have a kid because I wasn't. like I could not.
Oh, you didn't know shit. He's like, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, what were you doing having spawn?
Right. And as I keep getting older all the time, I'm like, oh yeah, my parents didn't know what the fuck they were doing at all. Nobody does. Nobody has any idea what they're doing. And that's okay.
Yeah. I do like to go back and think, where was I? What age was I when, like, as I'm going into my my 40th year, like looking back and saying, okay, well, my dad and I are this far apart. Like, well, where was he at this point in his life? And trying to remember what I thought of him at that point, of like, how did I view him and what he was doing? And, like just what was my emotional and mental understanding of everything in regards to our relationship and stuff. And then where am I now? And how would that, like, it's an interesting game to play, to try to figure out, where were they, and then where were you respectively, and what was that relationship like? And it's just
absolutely,
yeah.
And it's as you get older, because you just assume every adult knows what the hell they're doing, all the time. As you get older, little by little, bit by bit, you're like, well, that guy's a little off. That teacher sucks. I don't feel like they know what they're talking about. Then as you just like age up and you kind of get to there and you're like, oh, they don't know what's going on. They're just doing their best. They're trying their hardest, but they're not.
This is just a job for them.
Yeah. It's
a lot of it, you're just like, oh, I understand what they were going through now. They just were waiting for the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, they were tired. This is like
tired. Yes.
This is the 10th time they've taught this grade. And they're doing the math on when they can retire. And they're like, I got 12 more years, man. 12 more years. I'm not even halfway yet, And
I did see a good meme about speaking of just getting tired, where they're like, it's at some point, no one ever told you at some point you were just going to become tired and it would never really go away.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never, when I was younger, was never exhausted. Now it's just like, I'm always just kind of perpetually tired.
I thought I was tired when I was younger. I used to be like, they're like, how are you? I'm like, I'm tired. I wasn't really tired.
No.
Just like you don't realize how much free time you have until it goes away.
Oh, Jesus. Yes, absolutely.
One of the biggest curses ever. I keep telling that to Natalie now. I'm like, enjoy your free time. Enjoy it. Enjoy it because at some point it's going to go away. It's going to be minimized and you're going to really savor those moments you have when you can do whatever you want. Yeah. And if you have a kid, it really goes away. And then you really have to like time out when you're going to have fun to yourself because it goes, man. It goes. And the idea that you want responsibility until you get it. It's like trying so hard. You're like, I got to get to this door. You open the door and then you just slide down the slope and you're like, I want to go back. And you're like, too bad. You made it through the door. You're like, no. It's like, welcome to the real world, motherfucker. You're in it now.
Which seems like a perfect place to transition.
You got the questions, we got the answers. All you do is ask. Practical. Ask Practical Doug.
If you've never been here before for this segment, this is Ask Practical Doug. Practical Doug is a little Doug that lives inside of Big Doug and helps guide Big Doug through all of life's quandaries, questions, and quagmires. Practical Doug serves a great purpose in this life. And if you would like to ask Practical Doug a question, you can. Even though we don't like social media, you can ask us on social media.
We'll respond to you. We'll engage with you.
We will. At Mind Gap Podcast, hashtag Ask Practical Doug. I always want to, I'm still getting used to the fact that we're not streaming. So you can't ask us live, at least for now. But you can join the Discord server. There's its own special channel for, is it a channel? We went over this.
It has its own special channel.
There's its own special channel for Ask Practical Doug, where you can just pop a question in there and maybe it gets answered in Discord, and maybe you're lucky enough and it gets answered live on air. I'm just saying, like Jared today.
Because that's what's happening right now.
That's what's happening right now. Jared asks Practical Doug, is a cell phone or mobile phone a necessity? And if so, when did it become a necessity?
I love this question very much because Jared saw to say it was a discussion is very kind, in an Instagram post in the comments where someone goes, is a phone, a necessity? And people are like, yes, absolutely. And this person's like, I disagree. It's not, because you can do everything you need on your laptop. And someone's like, okay, caveman, just because I get it. Like, I think there needs to be some semantics here because I look at this two ways. One, cell phone as it is, right? Or two, a cell phone without internet.
So you're saying a smartphone?
Yes.
Or a true
cell
phone?
Yes.
Cell phone.
Because I think those are two different things. The smartphone as it is today, I think, unfortunately, is a necessity. It hits so many important aspects of life for the sake of communication, right? Text messaging, FaceTime, occasional phone calls, right? People do actually make phone calls sometimes. That by itself is incredible because I think about all the ways that that's applied in things like two-factor authentication. Granted, you can do two-factor authentication, like having someone call you or maybe getting an email in some situations where you can get that code. But in a lot of situations, it does, text is a way to do it. Sure. If you go to a restaurant and they're like, here's our menu, scan this QR code, you have to have a cell phone that can do that. Or if you go to a restaurant, they're like, hey, what's your phone number? We'll text you when your table's ready. You get the text message that way. And then you go into things like work, right? In a lot of ways, like communicating with people on work, having the apps available on the phone. So if you're not at your desk, you can still, which to a lot of ways I say is shitty, right? The idea that you're expected to be available at all times, every time. Sure. Again, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I do believe it is a necessity. It depends on the line of work that you're doing, right? You may need to be in contact on the go, doing stuff. Like you kind of need to have that. And then there's things like GPS, right? Being able to navigate. Granted, yes, we did it with maps before, and before that, people just fucking went out and explored and they found shit, right? I get it. It's possible. But it also adds so much to the sense of like, where are the nearest restaurants to me? Where is the nearest whatever? You name it, it can pull it up for you. It can identify that stuff for you. So, and then there's fucking social media, right? Several, like Instagram and TikTok, you can only upload stuff through your phone. So if you want to be engaged with that and you want to create content that way, you got to be able to do that. So, not to mention photos, video, streaming, all sorts of stuff, it's done through the phone. So I think in a society, because part of it is societal norms too, that kind of push us to be like this and to have this available, to have these sort of like conveniences that also become sort of like expected, right? Because let's say you don't have a phone, right? What if you need to call somebody? There aren't payphones anymore. They don't exist.
That's a very good point.
You're shit out of luck. And what are you going to do? Go ask someone if you can use their phone?
See how that goes for you.
People typically don't do that. As a parent, I need to know, like, if the school calls or something, or camp calls, or when Natalie gets older, right? I'm sure you did extracurricular activities at school and you get home late and you'd have to fucking go to a payphone and call your parents and be like, I'm back now. Can you come pick me up from school? I did that with sports all the time. And now it's like fucking, your kid's gonna have a phone and be like, hey, we're on our way back. We'll be home in like 30 minutes. Come pick me up. It's like,
right.
Or we'd have to go to like the fucking teacher's lounge and use the phone in there. Like, there's just things now that the world has moved on in a way where I do believe that the phone is a necessity, that you need to have it. I don't like that it's a necessity. But in another positive route too, some other countries that didn't have the infrastructure, didn't have the money to spend on landlines, can bypass that entirely, go straight to mobile, and now they don't have to worry about like phone wires and shit like that. They just went straight to mobile stuff, and they communicate, and they got to skip something. You know, they got to jump ahead. They were so far behind, they get to jump ahead. You know, so good for them and stuff like that. Anyway, I barfed out a bunch of stuff. What do you think?
I think you actually brought up way more arguments for than I was going to bring to the table. I think just again from the QR code at the restaurant, going out to eat, there are some restaurants that no longer carry paper menus, and so if you don't have a phone, you're shit out of luck. Calling people, like payphones, they don't exist anymore. There was what was the very first thing that you brought up prior to the QR code?
It was like communication, texting, two-factor authentication.
Two-factor authentication. There is who's to say that you can get an email? You might not be at your computer,
right?
You know, if you need to log into something. And I think we have moved as a society to a point in technology where it's a necessity because society deems it a necessity.
Exactly.
Right. You might be able to live. Yes. Do you need it to live? No. Like, is a necessity in that, is it Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Like, it's not a necessity in that regard. No, you don't need a cell phone to physically survive. You can make it day to day without it. But if you want to be a active member of society and actually, do your part, an engaged member of society, you absolutely need a cell phone to do that. And I do believe that you need a smartphone at this point to make that happen. It has ceased to become a luxury, and it is now it is verging, if not already necessity, it is verging right on the edge of necessity.
Yeah, and for the record, again, I don't like it. I prefer doing shit on my computer. That's why I got so pissed off with like TikTok.
I can't stand looking at stuff. Like if I need to read an article or Beth will send me something and well, can you look for, we're looking for chairs for a dining room. Well, let's look. And I can't spend that kind of time on my phone. I can't surf the web on my phone for an extended period. And again, first world problems, I get it, but save your comments. But it's I definitely agree that the computer serves a much greater, function for me in many things. But without the cell phone, you're not gonna make it through a lot of what is required of you nowadays.
I have 3 fucking screens. If I'm doing research for shit, I want to use these big ass screens to see more content at one time. Yeah. I hate typing lots of shit with my meaty thumbs. I constantly misspell stuff all the time. It's not enjoyable. I don't like having long conversations, over that stuff or whatever. Like in a pinch, I'm more than happy to hop on the internet and look something up, look up the times of a movie or I did that when I was in Nashville. I was looking for shit to do and whatever and looking up information on the zoo. I bought my tickets for the zoo on my phone and whatever. It's fine. I do appreciate that convenience. I don't like doing a lot of extended stuff on there. I was so pissed when I finally decided to make a TikTok account. Hard stop. And then it was oh, you can only do this on the phone. I was like, motherfucker. I have to do this on the phone. It's same thing with Instagram. It's oh, you want to post? You got to post it from your phone. I was like, how annoying. I build all my content on the goddamn computer, and then I got to put it in the goddamn drive, and I got to download it from the drive onto my phone. It's that's extra steps. Why are we doing this? Anyway, it fucking sucks. All right. But I think, and you said it perfectly, is that society has moved to a point where if you don't have a phone, you're actually at a huge disadvantage for a lot of things. Yes. And I don't like that, but I would argue that it is even if you were like, nope, I'm sticking with my landline. I'm like, that's cool. It's still going to be really difficult to go out and do a lot of things. It's less of like, oh, this is inconvenient to like, it's actually problematic to interact and do things sometimes. Because imagine you go to that restaurant and they're like, hey, give me your cell phone and your number and we'll text you. And it's like, well, I don't have a phone. And they're like, I guess stay close. You know,
right? Yeah,
like
hang out right there. Then
it can be done, but it's not. You will be severely inconvenienced because you're not doing what everyone else is doing. Is that right? Yeah. Debatable. I'd argue no, but it's what society wants. So here's we are. Here's where we are.
There you go. It is decided. Necessity.
And to answer like when it happened.
Yeah.
I would say
Thursday.
I'd say, I think when the first iPhone came out, that was a step in that direction. Followed by the iPad as the adoption of these technologies into everyday life became, because a lot of those things are like, oh, this is a luxury item. Ooh, look at this iPhone. Look at this iPad. I remember seeing the iPad. I'm like, what the fuck do you do with that? Like, I don't understand its purpose. It's cool, but I don't understand its purpose. And then as technology improved and, you got, GPS instead of having your TomTom or whatever, like people are like, oh, it's on the phone. Like it became this all-inclusive device.
Yeah.
And then when people realize that some people are like, oh, I don't have a PC. I have my phone. They're like, well, we also have to carry the phone. In my line of work, when I create training, they're like, well, how does it look on the phone? Not just because some people will view training on the phone. Society over time was like, this is basically a computer in my phone, in my hand that I carry around in my pocket. And people just started picking stuff up. So I would say probably, I don't know, last 10 years, maybe.
I would say that's accurate.
Being generous, 15 may be, a bit far, but I'd say in the last 10 years, it quickly moved to like, if you don't have a phone, you're fucking out,
Yeah. I fully agree. I would say last decade is where it really made the turn.
Yeah. So Jared, thank you so much for the question.
Great question as always, Jared.
Thanks for popping that in the Discord. Like Justin said, you can do that too. Check out our Discord. Link is in the description down there. Justin, what do you got to recommend this week?
I have a animated series that I think is unique and fun and unlike anything I've seen in a little while. It's called Agent Elvis, and it's on Netflix. Oh boy, I just did something here. Here we go. The cast is absolutely stacked. Playing Elvis is Matthew McConaughey.
Oh my God.
And it's Matthew McConaughey. It's Matthew McConaughey doing Matthew McConaughey. But somehow it works. You're like, yeah, that's Elvis. But it sounds nothing like him. But you're like, yeah. Caitlin Olsen, Priscilla Presley, Elvis's ex-wife, actually produced this and stars as herself in it. It's magic.
That's
Johnny
wild.
Knoxville, Tom Kenny, who is the voice of SpongeBob, plays Scatter, who is Elvis's coked out monkey friend. Don Cheadle, Jason Mantzoukas, Niecy Nash, Baz Luhrmann is in it. Christina Hendricks, Kieran Culkin, Chris Elliott, Ed Helms, Ego Nwodim, Simon
Jason
Pegg,
Mantzoukas plays Howard Hughes.
Gary Cole. He plays Howard Hughes, who has injected himself with radiation and is going insane.
There we go. That makes sense.
He's got nails that cannot be cut, and they're razor sharp like knives now. And he pisses acidic piss into jars.
Simon Pegg?
Yes. Kieran Culkin. I'm telling you, man, like this cast is stacked. It is.
Fred Armisen plays Charles Manson.
Yep. And wonderfully so, I might add.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it is. Ed Helms plays Robert Goulet. It's just such a. But here's the if you know a lot about that era, for example, Caitlin Olsen plays CeCe Ryder, spelled CeCe Ryder. One of Elvis's most popular songs, or a very popular song, was CeCe Ryder, SeeSee Ryder, Rider. And so her character is CeCe Ryder. And like there's like if you're into this genre of music in that time period, a whole bunch of little Easter eggs that make the show even richer. But if not, Elvis Presley basically becomes a secret agent and has to save the world over and over and over again. His best friend is Johnny Knoxville, who plays Bobby Ray, and Bobby Ray is he's the wheelman. You know, he can basically fly, drive, or operate any vehicle and fix it. And Scatter is the homicidal, coked out monkey sidekick, and it is insanity incarnate, and it's fucking amazing. So on Netflix, Agent Elvis. It's got 1 season out. I think they're coming back for a second. I don't know. Hope they do. But obviously it's sanctioned by Elvis's people because his ex-wife helped make it. So bada bing. Yeah.
Okay. What a recommendation. You've got my attention, sir.
This is the closest I'll get to recommending anime.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I have an anime show. I'm like, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Yeah. Short
Um,
episodes too, 30-minute episodes. I think 10 in the season. So easy, fun. Doug, what do you got?
I've got The Wire. A little late to the game on this one.
Opposite, but I love it.
Yeah, I heard about it for years, about how awesome it is, and yeah, it was the best cop show of when it came out in the early 2000s, and you could see its effect on all future shows. It takes place in Baltimore, and it's so well done. Like, I understand the hype behind it, and it's very grounded. It's kind of depressing. And it deals, essentially, it's a story about corruption in the city of Baltimore from a lot of different angles. And it's got incredible acting. And yeah, I was completely enthralled with it. I think I finished it within like 2 weeks or whatever. I just was like, just consuming it just left and right. And it was
love it.
Phenomenal show. And again, it's like one of those things where you're like, you may watch it now. It's almost like watching a comedian from a few decades ago where you're like, oh, I don't get why everyone, it set the stage for cop shows, procedurals and everything like that. And it's also, the writing is phenomenal. There's one season that's all about like shipping and whatever, and people were just making all these like references to like shipping, how it's done. I'm like, God damn, it's like writing those sketches, those very specific sketches at Second City where you're like, oh, I have a lot of knowledge on this. I'm gonna put in someone's like, I'm gonna write a whole season about fucking shipping because I know it. Hank over there, his dad, he grew up on the docks, so he knows everything there is to know about shipping. You're like, oh my God, like what? It's incredible. It's really well done. So that's on Max. It's been out for probably 20 years at this point, but finally got to it. It's pretty cool. You should check it out.
I love the fact that you brought up to the watching something decades later and having my dad and stepmom and sister came up this weekend, and he and I were having coffee on the porch, and somehow we got onto that. We were talking about the Carol Burnett show and just how revolutionary some of the stuff they were doing on and a few other old shows like that really like broke the mold for what was to come. And I told him, I was like, Doug and I have talked about this in the past, how you look back and sometimes you can really easily go, I don't see what's so special about that, but you have to when you're watching something like that, you have to put yourself in the mindset of this had never been done before. So take that with a grain of salt, and so
you need the context.
You have to have the context that this was new, brand new. And so this was mind blowing.
It was like whenever I took a Shakespeare class and in college, and we were going through like a history play, right? It was like Henry V or whatever. The amount of prep you had to do before you even read the play was insurmountable, but also crucial because you needed to know the context behind all of this stuff, because Shakespeare was doing a commentary of political figures and things like that, and so just to read that, you're like, I don't get any of this. You needed a history lesson before you read it so that you could understand it. And it's the kind of the same thing with that. You said Carol Burnett, real quick, a couple quick stories. I remember when I was at Second City kind of earlier on or whatever, and I was doing stuff, and this guy I worked with, he was a total tool that was absolutely active on LinkedIn. like was making references to Carol Burnett because he knew I did comedy, and I was like, who? He's like, how can you be at Second City and you don't know who Carol Burnett is? I'm like, I'm not your age. It's not on right now. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I just the hate I got from him, I was just like, I don't know. I'm sorry that I don't know. And he's like sending me clips of the show. I'm like, okay, like it doesn't do anything for me now, but it's like someone trying to prove like, I can't believe you don't. And the other one was early on when I was in the music business stuff, someone referenced Dick Clark, and I was like, who? And they're like, you know who Dick Clark is? I was like, the race car driver? Like, I don't know who that is. They're like, he hosted the countdown, the music countdown. He did American Bandstand. I'm like, I wasn't alive for that. I don't know who that is. He's like, and you're in the music business? I was like, sorry. I'm sorry I whiffed on that. I'm sorry. Like, it's an ongoing joke now that Jill will be like, I'll be like, I don't know who that is. She goes, you mean like Dick Clark? I'm like, yeah, exactly. I don't know who that is, So
he hosted Dick Clark's New Year's Rocking the Eve, and you're like, the syntax of that does not make sense.
Yeah, I didn't watch the New Year's Eve specials on ABC or whatever it was. So sorry. Anyway, just a couple of quick little Doug hate stuff.
It would have been great if you would. Oh, sorry.
Two in one episode.
Doug hates stuff.
It would have been great if you were just they're like, Dick Clark. You're like, oh, of Dick Clark Productions.
Just start.
Somehow his production company, but you don't know any of his work.
I was like, oh, I thought it was just like a general name for a production company.
I just thought that was a pretty. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all for listening. It's great to be back. We had a lot of fun. My favorite part was like all these topics were just like, they weren't articles or anything. It was just stuff that Justin and I wanted to talk about. So sometimes a little break in this stuff is good. It kind of gives us plenty of stuff to come to the table with. But thank you so much for listening. Please, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you very much. Please hit that like and that subscribe button. It means the world to us. Also, check out the description. You've got a link to our Discord. You've also got a link to our merch shop, redbubble.com. You've got a link to our Patreon if you'd like to throw some cash our way. Otherwise, like I said, hit the like and the subscription button because it costs you nothing and it helps us out so much. And follow us on all our social medias at MindGap Podcast. And be sure to check out Justin as well.
That's right. When I'm using it, you can find me on
Not
Instagram.
this week, but
not this week. At Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it. And while you're in the online realm, check us out on any podcast platform that you normally consume podcasts, except for Stitcher, because it's going away. So you got to find a new one. But you can go Apple Podcast, you can go Podbean, you go Spotify.
Good Pods.
Good Pods, Pandora. I almost said Panera, and that's not right. I don't know. We might be on Sirius. Who knows? Anything. Find us there. Like, subscribe, share, rate, review, all those fucking things we tell you to do all the time. TwoEastEighth.com, 2 East 8th on all social media, loveanimprovfilm.com, Love an Improv Film on Instagram. That's all this guy's got to say.
All right. With that, I'll say, Justin, thank you.
Douglas, thank you.
Listeners, thank you.
Oh, mommy.
And you all have a dandy fucking week.
Mind